All right, more practice dividing a decimal by a decimal. As you can see, our numbers have gotten a little larger. Our problem's a little bit more complex, but the process remains the same. So we still have to get it rewritten, get the decimal moved out of our divisor so it's a number that we can divide with easier. So let's start by rewriting the problem off to the side. So we've got 0 and 58 hundredths as a divisor. And we've got 0 and 5,568 10,000ths, 100,000ths, excuse me. So this is the problem, and this is about as big as they're going to get, that we have to divide. First thing that we're going to notice is we want to clean it up a little bit. We want to move our decimal to the end of the number, so we're going to multiply it by 100 or move it 2 places. Remember, whatever we do to the divisor, we also do to the dividend. So we're going to move it 2 places to the right. And then we rewrite it and clean it up a little bit. So we have 58 as our divisor. And we've got 5,568 as our dividend. And now we have a 2-digit divisor problem. So remember with these, there's a little bit of try and check involved. And we have to figure out how many 58s we can get out of 556. Well, if we had 5 into 50, that'd be about 10 times. Let's just try some numbers over here. Let's try 58 times 8. Let's see how close that gets us. 8 times 8 is 64. 5 times 8 is 40. Plus 6 more is 46. A little small. Let's try 58 times 9. And we get 72. And 9 times 5 is 45. And 45 plus 7 would be 52. So 522. So 58 goes into 556. 9 times, put our 9 above the 6, because that's how many it took to go into. And now we can't forget our does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers. We take 9 times 58, which is right here, and we get 522. We subtract, and 6 minus 2 is 4. 5 minus 2 is 3. 5 minus 5 is 0. We check to make sure 34 is smaller than 58. We bring down the 8. And now we have to decide how many times does 58 go into 348. Well, 58 times, let's try 6. 8 times 6 is 48. And 6 times 5 is 30, plus 4 more is 34. That works out perfectly. So 58 goes into 348 6 times, and 6 times 58 is 348. Subtract and you get 0. So our answer is 96. All right. Let's try the next one. We've got 0 and 7/10 as our divisor. And we've got 0 and 1,995 10,000ths. And let's zoom this in a little bit. Again, we want to move the decimal and the divisor to the end of the number, so it's a little bit easier to deal with. So we move it 1 place to the right or multiply it by 10. We do the same on the inside because we have to keep it uniform. Let's rewrite it and clean it up a little bit. This becomes a 7 as the divisor, and inside it now becomes a 1 and 995 thousandths. Excuse me. Now we have a decimal in our dividends. We're going to put that straight up in our quotient right away. And we know 7 can't go into 1, but 7 can go into 19 2 times. And 2 times 7 is 14. So we subtract. 9 minus 4 is 5. 5 is smaller than 7. We bring down our 9. And 7 goes into 59 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. We subtract, and 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 is smaller than 7. So we bring down our last number, and 7 goes into 35 5 times, and 5 times 7 is 35, and we subtract, and we are officially done. And our answer is 0 and 285 thousandths. All right. So again, we just have to clean these problems up a little bit, and it makes for a little bit easier dividing. Oh, it looks like we skipped one. We'll go back to this one here. We'll number this one 1 and this one number 3. We'll number this guy number 2 down here. So we've got a 0 and 2/10 as a divisor. And we've got a 0 and 12/100 as a dividend. All right, this one seems a little bit smaller numbers, so maybe a little easier. Let's see. First thing we want to do is move the decimal in our divisor to the end. And then moving it one place to the right, we're going to do the same thing with our dividend. So now it's there. Let's rewrite it and clean it up a little bit. So we have 2 as our divisor, and then we've got a 1.2 or 1 and 2/10 as our dividend. We'll put our decimal right in our quotient. 2 cannot go into 1, but 2 can go into 12 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. We get 0. A little bit easier one, 0 and 6/10. All right, let's try one more together. We'll call this one number 4. And we've got a 1 and 5/10 as our divisor. We've got a 1 and 2/10 as our dividend. Zoom it in here a little bit. Again, we want to move this decimal to the end by multiplying by 10. We're going to do the same thing with the dividend and move it to the end. We're going to rewrite it and clean it up. We have 15 as a divisor. We have 12 as our dividend. And now when we look at this, immediately we should notice 12 can't go into, or 15 can't go into 12. So we're going to have to add a decimal and then a 0 to make it appear so it looks like 120. Let's put that decimal right up in our answer right away. We know we're going to have zeros in front of that decimal. And we have to decide how many times does 15 go into 120. Okay, well, if this was 10 into 12, or 10, excuse me, let's say it was 1 into 10. Let's just do some try and check here. Let's do 15 times 7. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is 105. All right, let's try 15 times 8. We're going to get 40, and 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 more is 12. And what do you know? That works out evenly. So 15 goes into 120 8 times. 8 times 15 is 120. Subtract, and you get, excuse me, 0. So 0 and 8/10 is your answer. Go ahead and try some more on your own. Not necessarily all of them, but try a few and see how you do. The answers